The glass of bourbon trembled in Marcus Kane's hand as he stood alone on the 50th floor, staring through the floor-to-ceiling windows at the city below, a sprawling canvas of Christmas lights that blurred into watercolor streaks through his exhausted eyes. 48 hours without sleep, another holiday spent in an empty office tower, and the only sound breaking the silence was the hum of fluorescent lights that had forgotten what it meant to rest. He set the glass down on his mahogany desk, untouched, because even the burn-off whiskey couldn't fill the hollow space that had grown inside him over the years. Marcus Kane, CEO of Kane Industries, the man Forbes called the architect of innovation, the face on magazine covers, the name whispered in boardrooms with equal parts admiration and fear, and yet here he stood, completely alone on Christmas Eve, surrounded by awards and achievements that felt as cold as the December wind rattling the windows. The elevator dinged behind him, shattering the silence like broken glass. Marcus turned sharply, his jaw tight with irritation. Every employee had been sent home hours ago with generous bonuses tucked into their accounts. The building should have been empty, locked, silent as a tomb. A young woman stepped out, her maintenance uniform rumpled, her dark hair escaping from a loose ponytail. She carried a mop bucket in one hand and froze when she saw him, her eyes widening with the kind of surprise that suggested she'd walked into a room she thought would be empty. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Kane," she said quickly, already backing toward the elevator. "I didn't realize anyone was still here. I'll come back tomorrow. Wait." The word escaped him before he understood why. She paused, her finger hovering over the elevator button, and something in her expression, not fear, but a quiet sadness that mirrored his own, made him speak again. "What's your name?" "Elena. Elena Rodriguez. I'm part of the night cleaning crew." She shifted the bucket to her other hand, clearly uncomfortable. "I really can go. It's Christmas Eve," Marcus interrupted, his voice softer now, almost curious. "Why are you here? If you believe in kindness, empathy, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us spread more hope and love." Elena's shoulders sagged slightly, and she set the bucket down with a soft thud. "Double shift. My daughter, she's 7, she wants a bike for Christmas. The kind with streamers and a bell. I've been saving, but the medical bills from last year," she trailed off, shaking her head as if embarrassed by her own honesty. "I'm sorry, you don't need to hear this." Marcus found himself walking toward her, each step feeling like he was crossing a vast distance between two different worlds. Medical bills? Leukemia. The word hung in the air between them like a prayer and a wound. "She's in remission now, thank God. But the treatments, they don't exactly fit into a cleaning crew salary." Elena smiled, but it was the kind of smile people wore when they were trying to convince themselves that everything would somehow be okay. "But she's healthy. That's what matters. The bike can wait another year if it has to." Something cracked inside Marcus's chest, a fissure in the armor he'd built so carefully over the years of mergers and acquisitions, of calculated risks and strategic victories. He'd spent 2 decades building an empire while forgetting why empires were supposed to matter in the first place. "How long is your shift?" "Until midnight. I clean the executive floors last because usually everyone's gone by then." Elena glanced at the window behind him, at the city dressed in holiday lights. "Your family must be wondering where you are." "I don't have family." The admission surprised him with its rawness. "Not anymore. My wife left 3 years ago. Said I'd married the company instead of her." She wasn't wrong. He walked back to his desk, looking at the photographs still sitting there like artifacts from another life, a younger version of himself smiling at a camera, a woman beside him who'd eventually grown tired of being second place. "I kept working, kept building, kept telling myself that success would fill the space they left behind." Elena moved into the room slowly, not cleaning, just standing there as if she recognized the weight of what he just shared. "I'm sorry. Loneliness it's the kind of poverty money can't fix." Marcus laughed, but it was hollow, brittle. "I have everything, Elena. 3 homes, cars I don't drive, investments that multiply while I sleep. And yet I haven't had a real conversation with another human being in months. Every interaction is filtered through assistants and lawyers and PR teams. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. Not me," Elena said quietly. "I just need to clean your office and get home to my daughter." I don't even know what CEOs do, honestly. Something with papers and meetings and making important decisions that trickle down to people like me. She picked up her mop. But I can tell you're hurting. Doesn't matter if you wear a suit or a uniform, pain looks the same on everyone. He should have let her clean. Should have gone back to his bourbon and his solitude and his carefully constructed isolation. Instead, Marcus heard himself asking, "Can you stay? Just for tonight, not to clean. Just to talk, please." Elena's eyes searched his face, and whatever she saw there made her nod slowly. She set the mop down and moved to the small couch near the window, the one Marcus had purchased for power naps during merger negotiations, but had rarely used. He joined her, sitting at the opposite end, maintaining the careful distance of strangers who were about to become something else. They talked through the hours that followed, their words filling the empty spaces of the executive suite with something warmer than artificial heat. Elena told him about her daughter Sophia, about her obsession with butterflies, her habit of leaving little notes hidden around their tiny apartment, her infectious laugh that had almost been silenced by illness but had fought its way back. She spoke about working 3 jobs before landing the cleaning position at Kane Industries, about falling asleep on buses and waking up at the wrong stops, about the mathematics of poverty where every dollar had to stretch across too many needs. Marcus, in turn, found himself speaking truth he'd locked away for years, about growing up poor himself, about a father who'd worked himself to death in a factory, about the hunger that had driven him to succeed until success became its own kind of starvation, about the moment his wife walked out and he'd realized he'd been so busy building monuments to his own ambition that he'd forgotten to build a life worth living. "You know what Sophia told me last week?" Elena's voice was soft in the darkness. The city lights cast shadows across her face, making her look both younger and infinitely older. She said, "Mama, when I grow up, I want to be like you. Someone who works hard and loves big." Tears glistened in Elena's eyes. "And I thought this child who's been through so much pain, who's seen me struggling and exhausted, and that's what she takes away. Not the fear, not the hardship, the love." Marcus felt something shift inside him, a tectonic movement of perspective. "I've spent years measuring my worth by balance sheets and stock prices, but I haven't loved anything in so long. I've forgotten what it feels like." "It's not too late," Elena said. "Love isn't something you lose. It's something you choose, every single day." When midnight struck, church bells echoing faintly from somewhere in the city below, Marcus made a choice. Not the calculated, strategic choices he'd built his career on, but something raw and impulsive and achingly human. "Elena, I want to help. Your daughter's bike, the medical bills." She held up her hand, stopping him. "Mr. Kane, I didn't tell you those things to get money from you. I told you because you asked, because you listened. That's rarer than you think." "I know," Marcus said, "but let me do this. Not as a CEO writing a check. As someone who needed to remember what it feels like to give something that matters. Please." Elena studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, but only if you do something for me in return. Anything. Spend Christmas with us tomorrow. Meet Sophia. Eat my mediocre cooking. Stop being alone in this tower." Her smile was warm, now genuine. "You can't buy your way out of loneliness, Mr. Kane. But maybe you can find your way out through connection." The next evening, Marcus Kane sat on a worn couch in a small apartment in Queens, watching a 7-year-old girl with bright eyes and a gap-toothed smile demonstrate her new bicycle, streamers flying, bell ringing, her laughter filling every corner of the space with something that felt like magic. Elena's cooking wasn't mediocre at all. The apartment was small but filled with photographs and drawings and love notes tucked into picture frames. And for the first time in years, Marcus felt something unfold inside his chest, not the hollow ache of achievement, but the warm, painful, beautiful sensation of being part of something real. Sophia climbed into his lap without hesitation, the way children do when they haven't yet learned to see barriers between people. "Mr. Marcus, Mama says you helped get my bike." "Thank you." She threw her small arms around his neck, and Marcus found himself holding on tighter than he'd held on to anything in years. That night, after Sophia had fallen asleep, and Elena walked him to the door, Marcus pulled an envelope from his pocket. "There's enough here to cover the medical bills and more. But that's not why I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you because you gave me something I couldn't buy. You reminded me that I'm still human. Elena took the envelope with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. You didn't have to, I did, Marcus interrupted gently. More than you know. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that even small acts of kindness can change lives, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that warm the heart and uplift the soul. In the months that followed, Marcus Kane began showing up at that small apartment in Queens every Sunday. He became Uncle Marcus to Sophia, teaching her about butterfly and business in equal measure. He restructured Kane Industries to include better wages and benefits for every employee, remembering Elena's words about the mathematics of poverty. He started a foundation for families dealing with childhood illness, named after a 7-year-old girl who taught him that love was something you choose. The executive suite on the 50th floor became less familiar than a worn couch in Queens. The bourbon sat untouched on his desk. The Forbes profiles meant less than Sophia's crayon drawings taped to his refrigerator. And Marcus Kane, the lonely CEO who'd had everything, finally understood what wealth actually meant, not what you accumulate, but what you give away and who you choose to love. Comment below and tell us about a moment when kindness or compassion changed your life. We'd love to hear your story, because in the end, the greatest gift we can give isn't found in bank accounts or wrapped in paper. It's found in the simple, profound act of staying, of listening, of choosing connection over isolation, and of remembering that we're all just human beings searching for someone to see us in the darkness and choose to turn on the light.